Hello everybody, Jennifer Maker here. Did you know that the Cricut Maker, Explore, and Venture series machines can cut thicker materials like cardboard to make all sorts of things, such as these jumping gift boxes? In this video, I'll show you how to cut through cardboard on a Cricut cutting machine. So I needed to be able to cut cardboard on my Cricut to make a jumping box. Let me show you. Isn't that just so cool? So to make this box, I tested the best ways to cut the pieces from a sheet of corrugated cardboard. Corrugated means that it has these parallel rows of folds that look like a series of waves when seen from the edge. Corrugated cardboard is much stronger than any other cardboards. And when we think of cardboard, most of us really think of this thicker corrugated stuff. So I'm going to show you how to cut cardboard by making this jumping box with you. It is super fun and cool. You're going to love it. So you first need some corrugated cardboard. You can find the exact cardboard that I used in my materials list below the video. The most important thing is to make sure it is no more than 2 millimeters thick, or else it will be too thick to cut through your Cricut. I will show you an easy way to check and be sure it fits later on in this video. Now, since cardboard is kind of plain on its own, let's be honest, we're going to use colorful 65-pound cardstock and some coordinating washi tape for a fun and finished look on our cardboard. But how do you get the box to jump open? That's the secret, right? So for that, we need some 1/4 inch wide elastic, some hot glue, and a few metal washers. This is really going to make a difference, right? Okay, so now what about the blades needed to cut cardboard? I'm sure you're wondering. So you need either the knife blade, which works with the Cricut Maker, or the deep point blade, which works with the Maker, Explore, or Venture. If you have neither of these, you can use my PDF files to cut the pieces by hand with a craft knife instead. In this video, I'll use a Cricut Maker 3 along with a Cricut knife blade. Just remember that you can use the deep point blade in the black housing like this instead. Now, we did also try doing this with a regular fine point blade, the one that comes with your Cricut, but in my tests, I couldn't quite get the fine point blade to cut all the way through the cardboard, even after several passes. So I do not recommend that if you want to cut cardboard. Now, my jumping box also has some score lines, so I'll also show you how to get the score lines in just the right spots using a scoring stylus. You can use a single scoring wheel too, or you can just create the folds yourself using the PDF for reference. Now, I've got a full list of tools and supplies, plus links on where to find everything in my materials list. It's on my blog at jennifermaker.com/581. You'll also find written instructions and photos over there too. So let's go get the free pattern to make this fun jumping box, and I'll show you how to cut the cardboard and assemble the box along the way. Step 1, get my free cardboard jumping box designs. First, download my designs at jennifermaker.com/581. You can either download right from that link by saving the project, or download from my entire free design collection. To find it, look for Libraries in the red bar at the top, and then click either Get a Password if you don't yet have one, or click Enter the library. Search the page for design number 581 and click the link to download the designs. There are 2 designs in the folder: a jumping box with a happy birthday message, and a box with a celebrate sentiment to use for lots of different occasions. In this video, I'll show you how to make the happy birthday design. But the celebration box is very similar, and you can find the directions in my blog post. If you're curious about customizing the designs for this jumping box for different occasions, stay tuned to the last step for more details on how you can do that. You can print my PDF files and use them as templates to cut these designs by hand with a craft knife, but I'll use a Cricut cutting machine to cut my pieces so they are precise. You can use any Cricut Maker or Cricut Explore series machine, or another cutting machine that uses cut files and can cut thick cardboard. Step 2, prepare and cut your cardboard jumping box design. Let's start by adding the design to Cricut Design Space. Click the Upload button and then click Upload Image. Click Browse and find the Happy Birthday SVG file with score in the file name if you have a scoring wheel or scoring stylus to use. I'll demonstrate this version so I can show you how to set the score lines. If you do not have a scoring tool, you can use the design with no score in the file name instead. Once you've selected the best design for you, click Upload and then select the new design under Recent Uploads and click Add to Canvas. With the design selected, click Ungroup. I recommend always ungrouping a design after you upload it, as it will be grouped by default if there's more than one layer. Now we need to set the score lines. In the Layers panel on the right, find the group of two layers that has a large brown shape, and the other with just lines. Select the one with just lines. Now under the Operation menu at the top of the window, change the layer to Score. Click the layer group to select the brown piece and score layers, and then click Attach. This tells the Cricut to put the score lines on that layer. If you don't do this, it won't turn out as you expect, so this is very important. The attached layers will jump to the top of the Layers panel. To put them back so you can see your design better, click the attached layers and select Arrange, and then choose Send to Back. Now let's set the second set of score lines. Find the set of group layers that make the box's top, then select the Lines layer and set it to Score. Select the score line and its base layer, then click Attach. Now all score lines are attached to their proper base layers. And we're ready to make this. With the correct machine selected in the top right corner, click Make. This takes you to the Prepare screen where you can choose material sizes. Keep the material size for the brown mat set to 12 by 12 inches, but adjust it on your other mats with the drop-down menu if your cardstock is a different size. Now my cardstock is 12 by 12 inches, so I'll just keep it all the same. When everything looks good, click back on the first mat and then click Continue. Selecting the first mat like this before you click Continue will put it to the front of the queue, which helps us keep track of our mats. Now click the brown mat again. If you're using a Cricut Maker machine with a knife blade, like I am right now, click Browse All Materials and set it to chipboard 1.5 millimeter. Keep the pressure on default, as I found that gave the best results, even though it's technically for a different material. Now you might be wondering, why not use the corrugated cardboard setting? In my tests, I found that the corrugated cardboard setting worked best when used with thinner cardboard than we're using right now, while the chipboard setting worked great with my thicker cardboard and my knife blade. But if you're using a Cricut Explore series machine or you don't have a knife blade for your Cricut Maker, I found that the black deep point blade and housing works well using the corrugated cardboard setting with default pressure and about 4 to 5 passes. You may be tempted to try more pressure here, but when I tested that, Cricut Design Space gave me an error message. But default pressure worked well. The edges might not be as crisp as if we use the knife blade, but you can totally still cut cardboard with this combination on a Cricut Explore or Cricut Maker machine. Now go through and set your other mats that are just for the cardstock. I recommend you set them to medium cardstock with more pressure. Now let's prepare our machine mats for cutting. Place your cardstock face up on a green standard grip machine mat so the top left corner matches the one on the mat's grid. Use a brayer to adhere your cardstock well, as this will really help you get cleaner cuts. And with a clean fine point blade in the clamp, load the machine mat into your Cricut and press the Flash and Go button to begin cutting. When the cut is completed, flip your mat over onto your work surface and gently bend the mat away from your cardstock to release it without ripping or tearing. I also recommend you slide the craft spatula under the smaller intricate pieces as you're removing them to avoid tearing them during removal. A weeding tool is also really handy to pop out small bits of remaining cardstock. And to remove the small bits that are left on your machine mat after you remove the cut pieces, use a scraper tool. The scraper tool is much faster than removing them by hand, and you want to be sure to remove them for future cuts, or they can cause issues with getting good cuts. So always clean off your mat of all those little pieces. And don't throw those little bits away either. I'll show you a clever way to use them later. As you remove the pieces from your machine mat, place them face up on your work surface so everything stays in the right orientation. And when you get to the brown cardboard mat, use scissors to trim your cardboard to about 11.25 inches wide, so it's large enough for the design but won't fill the mat's width, because we need a little open space on the right side. I'll show you why soon. You can see on the screen that the Cricut will make cuts close to the left and top edges, but the design doesn't go all the way to the bottom or right edges. So we need the cardboard to cover the design area. Place the cardboard on a purple strong grip machine mat so the 11.25 inch edge is aligned with the top guideline and the longer edge is along the left guideline. There will be some uncovered mat all the way to the right, but as long as it's covered to at least 11 inches, your design will fit. And the area without cardboard is important, and I'll show you why in a second. Now use a brayer to adhere your cardboard really well, just as we did before. The brayer really pushes it down into the adhesive on the mat and will definitely help you get a better cut. On your Cricut machine, the white star wheels are probably currently spaced out along the roller bar. And that's because they help move the cardstock or vinyl through the machine by just barely touching the surface. But since cardboard is thicker, the wheels might actually make indents on the surface if we kept them in those positions. So gently move the white star wheels all the way to the right. Now they'll move over the empty space instead of over your cardboard where it could potentially hurt it. And very important, by sliding the machine mat, check that your cardboard will fit in your Cricut by sliding the machine mat under the bar on the Cricut, just like this. Make sure both edges go under the little guides too. If it won't fit, use a thinner piece of cardboard or use the PDF pattern to cut your cardboard out by hand instead. Now use painter's tape to secure the cardboard's edges to the mat. Try to only cover about 1/4 of an inch of the cardboard because the tape can interfere with the cuts. If the tape wraps over the mat's edges, especially on the left where it's very close, it could jam your Cricut by catching on the guides or the gray rollers. So be sure to tear or cut away any excess tape so it doesn't wrap around the side of your mat. If you're using a knife blade like I am, remove the fine point blade and then load the knife blade into clamp B and the scoring stylus into clamp A. If you're using this single scoring wheel instead, just load it when prompted. Now before you cut, double check that none of the tape goes beyond the mat's edge on the left side of your Cricut. If it does go beyond the side, be sure to tear it away so it doesn't interfere with the rollers or the machine guides during cutting. And then load your mat and press the Flash and Go button to begin cutting. The cutting process will take 4 or 5 passes. Stay with your Cricut just in case there are any issues. After 4 passes, press the pause button on your Cricut and check if the cardboard is cut all the way through. If it has, the mat is finished. If it hasn't cut all the way through, press the Go button for another pass. When it's cut all the way through, unload the mat, remove the painter's tape, and then flip the mat over onto your work surface and peel the mat away from the cardboard. And also remove the knife blade and housing from the clamp and store it away safely. You'll also want to move the star wheels back into place because now we want them to keep the thinner cardstock in place during the cutting process. So insert your clean fine point blade back into the clamp and cut the rest of your cardstock on your green standard grip machine mat. Here are what all of my cut pieces look like. Step 3, assemble your cardboard jumping box. Now let's put it all together. Crease your cardboard flaps by moving them back and forth at their score lines like this. If you didn't use a score tool while cutting, Use a metal ruler and a craft knife to very carefully score along where the flaps meet the center. Use the PDF for reference if you're not sure on the placement. Place the cardboard score side up on a self-healing mat. Then use a craft knife to cut all the way through the 8 small score lines in each flap to create slits where the elastics will eventually go. If you didn't use a scoring tool at all, use the ruler and craft knife to cut those small slits instead, and just put them in the correct spots. Use the PDF for reference for the correct placement, and again, be careful of your fingers. And then to clean them up, poke your weeding tool all the way through one side of one of the slits. Be careful and keep your fingers out of the way in the back. And use the weeding tool to poke the other end of the slit. Then drag the weeding tool between the holes to really open the slit up. Do the same with the other 7 slits. Now let's mark our flaps so we know what goes with what. Lay 1 different colored confetti square at each cardboard flap, and use a pen or pencil to mark the color on each panel. You won't see the marks after the box is assembled. The edges and creases will be visible, but I have found a fun way to finish them: washi tape. This is totally optional, but it does improve the finished look. So cut a piece of coordinating washi tape the length of one side of a flap. Apply the tape to the edge of the flap and then wrap it around so it's even on both sides. Now this edge looks nice and finished. Do the same with the other 2 edges. If there's any excess tape, use scissors to trim it off. Cut another piece of tape in the same color and place it over the crease. Use your fingertip or nail to gently but firmly press the tape into the crease. Then do the same with the back. Test the flap by bending it back and forth. It should move freely. Add washi tape to the edges and creases of the other 3 flaps in coordinating colors. The white panels are not perfectly square, so align them to the flaps to make sure they're oriented correctly. Add craft glue to the edges and inner part of one of the flaps, avoiding the slits. And with a white square piece in the correct orientation, lightly press it down onto the glue. If needed, slide the paper up slightly so it doesn't interfere with the crease and the flap can move easily. And do the same with the other 3 flaps. Once they dry, check the top edge of each flap and trim away any excess paper with scissors. Put a thin line of glue around the back edge of one confetti panel, then between the cutouts. Place it glue side down on its matching flap on top of the white cardstock. Fold the flap up to make sure the bottom edge isn't in the crease. Do the same with the other 3 panels. Find one of the solid colored squares without any cutouts. Apply glue to one side and press it down into place in the very center of your cardboard piece to cover the bottom of the box. Before the glue dries, lift the 4 flaps to make sure the square is centered and doesn't interfere with the creases. Gently adjust the square if needed. Turn the cardboard over on your self-healing mat so the colorful panels are face down. Using a craft knife, carefully follow the cut of one slit so it goes through the new cardstock layers. Flip it over and you should see a cut or score of the slit on the cardstock. Carefully cut along this line with the craft knife so the slit goes all the way through. And repeat with the other slits. Cut 4 pieces of elastic, each about 8 inches long. Use your tweezers to push one end of an elastic through one of the slits, then use your fingers to pull it through about 1 inch. Use your tweezers to push a second piece of elastic through the slot next to it. Then pull it through the other side about 1 inch. Put on hot glue finger caps and apply a line of hot glue onto the cardboard under where the end of one of the elastic pieces lies. Press the elastic down onto the glue to adhere it to the cardboard, and do the same with the other elastic. Pull the other end of one elastic to the slot on the opposite flap across from it. Use your tweezers to push it through the slot, and then pull it through the other side with your fingers. Repeat with the other elastic. With both flaps with elastic pointing straight up and parallel to each other, pull the elastics from the back through the slit to make them taut. Be sure that the sides remain straight up because that keeps the right amount of tension on the elastics. If they're too tight, the sides will pull in toward each other, but if they're too loose, they'll bow out a bit. Either way, the jump open won't work correctly unless the sides are straight when you adjust the tension. With your finger caps on, hot glue the first inch of each elastic end down. Try not to move the flaps from their upright position. And don't worry about excess elastic. We'll cut it off after the glue is dry. Repeat these steps on the other two flaps, attaching them with elastic. This is really important. After you glue the second two elastic pieces to one panel, weave their loose ends through the first two pieces like you're weaving a basket. One will go over and then under the first pieces, and the other will go under, then over. On the cardstock lid piece, fold the score lines and crease them with the scraper. Apply craft glue to the outside of a flap, and then pinch the flap and the side of the lid together until it dries. Do the same with the other three corners. If needed, trim off any excess elastic from the ends that were glued down. Once the lid is completely dry, put it on the box and test the jumping box function. Don't worry if it doesn't land the right way yet. Find the piece of cardstock with the small slot in the middle and apply glue to one side. Try to avoid getting any glue on the slot itself. Attach the cardstock piece to the lid's exterior. Make sure the slots are aligned and press down on both sides so it's adhered well. Find the square piece with the balloon cutouts and apply craft glue to the back. Be sure to avoid the cutouts. Attach the square to the top of the box on top of the layer you just attached. Press the glued layers together on both sides to adhere them well. Make sure the box is inside out so the plain cardboard is on the outside. Now apply a generous amount of glue to one panel, including over the elastic. The extra glue helps the paper adhere over the entire surface, even where the elastic bump makes it difficult. And if they're not glued well enough, the layers' edges can pull away from each other with use, so this is important. Attach one of the white squares. Don't position it too close to the crease so the flap can still bend freely. Press down all over the square to adhere it really well to the cardboard and elastic. Put a thin line of glue around the back edge of that flap's corresponding confetti panel, then in between the cutouts. Place it glue side down on top of the white square and then smooth it down. Do the same with the other three panels, adding the white piece followed by a colored confetti piece. Apply craft glue to one side of the remaining solid square and then use it to cover the last of the exposed cardboard. Apply craft glue to the back of one orange birthday piece, avoiding the cutouts. Attach it to the yellow birthday layer. Do the same with the other orange and yellow birthday layers. Fold and crease along the dashed lines on the assembled birthday piece so the word reads correctly from the outside. Place the small balloon pieces in their spots on the assembled happy piece. Use Cricut Design Space for reference if you need it. Glue the back of each balloon piece and use tweezers to attach them to the sentiment. Now apply glue to the back of one of the blue happy pieces and adhere it to the white happy piece. Do the same with the other happy pieces. Fold, then crease the score lines on the assembled happy piece so it reads correctly from the outside. Apply craft glue along the bottom of the happy piece. Insert it into the middle of the birthday piece. Unfold the happy and birthday pieces to really press them together until they dry. Then fold the pieces back into place. Place the box on your work surface with the elastic side down. Apply glue along the bottom of the sentiment and press it down diagonally onto the middle square of the box, like this. The orientation makes it possible to have a sentiment this large. To finish the lid, cut a piece of elastic about 5 inches long. Fold the elastic over into a loop, matching up the ends. Insert the ends through the slot on the top of the lid. Pull them through about 1 inch. Then, with your hot glue finger caps on to protect yourself, hot glue the ends of the elastic into place on the underside of the lid. Now, gather 8 metal washers. They might not seem like a lot, but their little bit of weight really helps the box jump. With the box inside out and your finger cap still on, hold a washer with tweezers while you apply hot glue to the flattest side. Then press it down onto the inside bottom corner of a panel. Hot glue 1 more washer on the opposite corner. Add 2 washers to the same spots on the other 3 panels. Once they're dry, turn the box right side out, hold it together, and sprinkle in those loose cutouts from earlier. They are perfect as confetti, and you can make some extra if you want, of course. And then put on the lid. Step 4, show it off. Here's what my finished jumping box looks like. Just lift the lid quickly using the pull loop and watch the box jump with joy and confetti. Isn't this awesome? Now you can surprise a friend or a family member with a jumping gift box that you made just for them. Step 5, customize it. If you love this cardboard jumping box but want to make one with your own theme, like Valentine's Day, Easter, whatever it is that you might want, or just personalize for a friend or family member's interests, there are some really fun ways that you can customize the exterior pieces. You can get the custom templates that I made for my very own jumping box and learn how to add your own shapes or whatever theme you want through a special program called Advance with Jennifer Maker. The Advanced program helps you advance your crafting skills by teaching you how to truly make these popular designs unique and special through my tutorials and templates, as well as give you advanced access to my vast library of designs, projects, and resources. I may or may not be accepting new members into the Advanced program by the time you see this, but if you're interested, go to jennifermaker.com/advance to learn more and see how it all works. Aren't these just so fun? I can't stop resetting them just to open them again. The way they jump open makes me smile every time. I find the boxes jump the best when you lift the lid straight up and quickly. Now, to keep your jumping box hopping for years to come, store it in a larger container with the sentiment showing on the outside and the lid off. This is so the elastic doesn't get too stretched out over time, which will affect the jumping open effect. I also recommend you store these boxes inside your home because your attic or garage or even your basement can get super hot in the summer and it could break down the elastic. And then there'll be nothing to jump for then. And remember, there's one more design in the collection for you. The Celebrate box design uses the same steps as the others, except for the slight difference in the sentiment piece, which I showed you in this tutorial. There are some reference photos on the tutorial in my blog post over at jennifermaker.com/581 that will help you out too. And the blank template to customize any way you want is over at jennifermaker.com/advance. Now, if you have any questions about working with cardboard, your Cricut, or anything else craft related that you think I could help you with, please let me know. You can leave your question below this video or ask over my Cricut Crafters group at jennifermaker.com/CricutCrafters. Be sure to share your photos too. We love to see them. And that's it for today. Until next time, this is Jennifer Maker reminding you to craft a life you love.